Hey, how we doing?
Oh,
hey.
hello.
Hey guys, this is Evan Layton with HTown Happy Hour.
Derek Levy, HTown Happy Hour, #1 podcast in the world.
In the world, bro. Let them know. And we have our very special guest for you today. We have...
Hi, my name is Ashley Gillespie.
Hi, Ashley.
Hey, Ashley.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glad you were able to make it out. And the very first shooting in the new office also.
New setting,
Very
new environment.
New everything over here.
What do you think about it, Evan?
I think it's up to par. I think it's up to par. And I'm glad we have you here to
Thank you. Super excited.
season the skillet.
Yes.
For sure. Season. I like that.
Yeah,
I
to
like
season
that.
the skillet over here.
Change is a little difficult at times, but it's always good.
It's always good. It's always
sure.
good. So tell us a little bit about you, Ashley Gillespie, right?
Yes. So
And now I know that you have you have a group where you help children. Tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, so I'm the founder and president of the Children's Oasis Foundation, and we are a 501 nonprofit where we service kids with autism and their families. We help support them. And we also have a school called the Oasis Academy where we educate them, provide therapy, and just prepare them for life outside of school.
That's
Awesome.
incredible.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, so like, how long does it go? What sort of things do you work with them on? I mean, is it different from a standardized type of education? Like, what sort of differences are there?
It's a super small setting. And really with the kids that we work, they are a little bit more challenged
Yeah.
in the areas of communication and social skills. So we work with them a lot on just learning how to be with other kids in a classroom. And we do academics. It's super important for them to learn how to read and to comprehend and do math, but it's more foundational,
Yeah.
real functional for them.
Gotcha.
But we do a lot of therapy, working with them on developing higher level skills with
Yeah.
Thinking,
Awesome.
problem solving in the
What
social
about-
settings.
Yeah, social interactions and everything too, huh?
Yeah.
What kind of age range or kids are you working with?
Our youngest is 3, and we would go all the way up to 21.
Wow.
Our oldest right
awesome.
now is 16, so we haven't had anybody graduate yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
Well,
I bet it's very fulfilling work.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun. I love my job. I
Yeah.
just, it's really fulfilling and fun, and just I'm always laughing.
Yeah.
There's
Hey.
so many stories. Like, it's just a
Hey.
lot of fun.
I always
you know?
say, like, a life without laughter would be a terrible life to live.
Oh yeah.
Laughter's key. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I mean, also just to kind of see how that world is, and it's like you gotta accept them all. Like I saw this episode of, it was like, how you're watching videos on animals on Facebook and stuff like that, and it was this dog that was like wiggling all over the place, and it was like you just gotta laugh because he's having a good time, and it's just like that's just their way of
My buddy had a dog that had that disease where they're just constantly like,
yeah.
but the dog was amazing, incredible, good dog.
It didn't lack any, dog abilities of love and appreciation, just like I'm sure the
Oh
students you
yeah,
work
it's
with.
all about the relationship and the connection that you can have with the kids, and you really don't need words to have a connection with them and to be able to share love.
Yeah.
And that is what fills my heart with so much joy,
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then being able to help also parents have that
Wow.
experience, because I think a lot of time for parents, they don't. They when they're pregnant or they're going to have a baby, they expect their child to be a certain way.
They expect to be perfect.
Right? And then when it comes out and there's more differences, they don't have the experience or the knowledge to know how they can use a
Right.
relationship.
They're not prepared for it.
Sure.
So-
They are scared.
Yeah.
So a lot of your work is helping parents also deal with this.
Yeah.
It's a lot about empowering parents, really, to
Yeah.
overcome their own internal obstacles with having a child that's different, and using therapy and strategies,
Yeah.
and just really helping them build a better relationship.
Plus, I imagine the things these children are learning from about school settings and interactions and all that, it benefits them at home as well, like them, not just the parents, which in turn benefits the parents. But
Sure, because with kids like this, they have a lot of stress. We all have stress.
yeah,
But with kids with autism and with other neurological conditions, they don't necessarily know how to handle the stress that
stress
they
management.
have and how that affects their emotional needs. And so we work with them a lot on de-stressing. It's really interesting. There's a lot of science behind it. But teaching parents also how to recognize the stress and how to get them to be calm and to help them
Yeah.
be peaceful. Because really, if they can just live peacefully and happy, I mean, what a fulfilled life.
Yeah.
So let me ask you: is there like any sort of like spectrum.
I was about to ask the same question.
Really?
What kind of
Yeah,
spectrum of it is?
Yeah, and are there other different kind of things that fall under the autism spectrum? And also, like, do you cater it differently to people who are like, oh, that's a very serious case versus, you know what, we're just going to change a few things around the atmosphere in the home for Johnny right here, should help out with X, Y, and Z. And then you're like, well, is that a thing?
It is. I mean, with autism, there is a spectrum.
Yeah.
And so if a child gets diagnosed today, they have like levels is what they call them, and they'll level them off. And it used to be when I was in college, it would be a severe autistic case. But they don't really say that anymore. It's more about levels.
Yeah.
For me, I don't really care so much about a diagnosis or about a level. It's more about the child. What kind of skills do they need? What kind of support do they need? And what can we do to provide the support for them?
Right.
With the kids I work with kids that are very communicative and have a lot of language, but they have a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And they need a lot of help with social emotional skills. And then I'll work with a kid that is still developing language and might not be able to say any words at this time. So
part of the stress probably comes from not being able to articulate exactly how they feel.
Well, do you have stress?
Yeah.
I mean, we all have stress,
Right,
right?
yeah, exactly.
So yes, I think that is a huge piece of them not being able to communicate, but it's also, you have to take in consideration their differences, like what's going on with their body, their sensory system. We all have a sensory system, right?
Right.
So we have to figure out what's going on with them in that way, and then being able to use strategies to help them calm in that way and help them get what their body is seeking or what their body is avoiding to help them in that way.
How long have you had this, the Oasis?
Oasis?
Children Oasis.
It started, the nonprofit, I started it in 2016. In the school, we opened in 2018.
How? Why?
I have a cousin that is very severely autistic, and I grew up watching her. I remember being a young kid, just seeing her like twiddle little leaves in the yard, and she would make funny noises, and she would even pull our hair, but she couldn't communicate. And I was always really intrigued by her, just wondering, like, why is she walking around out there? What is she doing?
What's she thinking? And
I remember like asking my parents questions, like, why is she like this? And I remember one time I asked my mom, like, why is Haley hitting herself? Why is she hitting herself? And my mom would be like, oh, she's in pain. I'm like, well, can we give her Tylenol? I didn't understand.
That's an innocent solution.
Yeah, like,
too.
can we give her some Tylenol?
How
like,
can we help?
That's not going to help her. And I just didn't understand, and I can just remember just always loved to be around her, and always loved to go to her house and just experience her world in that way.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I was driving.
Did you feel the unconditional love back from her too?
Oh yeah. I mean, she knows who I am. Even now I go and I'm like playing with her. She knows who I am. But I can remember being like 9 or 10, and I asked my grandma, I said, Grandma, well, I don't understand why they live the way they live, or why do they need help? I just don't understand. And she started to cry, and she looked at me and she said, you don't know what it's like. And it was like in that instant, my heart just broke, and ever since then, I've always wanted to work with kids like this, to just be able to, I saw what happened with their family and the lack of resources for her and for her entire family. And I just wanted to do something about it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I, growing up, one of my best friends, I grew up like childhood friends, he had a cousin that was autistic and also had Down syndrome. And I'll never forget, like, it struck me when you said you loved being around him, because I loved being around him. He was just, and then Evan it was crazy how you said that, and then he said about unconditional love, like, the dude just loved. Like and I would love to be around him, because he would always like gravitate towards me, and he'd want to wrestle me and just play with us. And he was actually, I think, this is around 13, 14. He was probably like 17, 18, so a little older than us, but he just loved to be around us and hang out with us and play with us and just laugh. It's beautiful.
It's pure.
Like, I loved him.
It's pure.
It's
Oh, yeah.
unconditional
It's pure.
love. Yeah.
It really is. And I think as humans, we all want to feel connected, and we all want to feel loved. And with a child that's different, it's so hard for people to know how to connect with them and know how to develop that relationship, because it's the fear of the unknown.
Right.
They don't know how to handle the different behavior.
It's almost like they have to double down on the love.
Yeah.
You have to love extra hard, because this person, and that's with they have a rock that they kind of lean on, and so somebody has to be that rock. So it's like, you can't be a half-ass parent in a scenario like that. You got to be all the way in.
Yeah.
Plus, kids can be mean. And so other kids, there's a whole nother level. Not only is someone with these differences dealing with their own internal issues, there's all the issues. We all just want to be accepted. We all just want to be loved, right? And so that adds a whole nother layer of complexity. Is kids can be little shits.
Yeah.
And so if they see something different, they point it out. And they may not even mean it in a mean way. You know what I mean? A perfect example, and it's just like out in left field, but perfect example. We had an Easter bunny just this last Easter at on top of the roof of Post Houston, best place in Houston. Y'all gotta check it out. But we had Easter bunny there, and we had a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Long story short, we lost one of the gloves Saturday, and so we lost one of the gloves. So the bunny couldn't have any gloves on Sunday, actual Easter Sunday. So he didn't have gloves on, full bunny suit, no gloves. And he happened to be an African American guy that day, only day that it was an African American, no gloves. The first group of kids that came up to sit in his lap and take pictures. Mommy, the Easter bunny's black. He just laughed.
He took it like a champ, huh?
Yeah, he laughed.
Cool.
But kids are honest, and they react to difference. Is why I say that.
And they'll point it out.
Right.
They point out differences and, pointing out different things, especially when a child has if they're experiencing a behavior or they're doing something that's sensory, flapping their hands or whatever it may be, they're going to point that out. And I think for a child that's different to be able to learn strategies to calm themselves in those kinds of situations and how they can just be accepting of who they are and their individual self is just so important.
Well, and because how can you expect people to just sit? That's why in regular schools, it's like people fidget and stuff like that. It's like you have pent up energy. You're sitting down for 8 hours a day. If I start...
this guy fidgets if he sits somewhere for 5 minutes.
I can't watch it. I can't watch television. I can't watch movies. I'm just like, hey, what the hell else is happening? You know what I mean? I gotta go. But that's just courtesy of the ADHD.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a regulation problem.
Hey, F y'all, I don't need your psychobabble right now, okay, man?
We're interviewing you, man.
Yeah, I'm asking the questions around here, man. All right. When did you know you had something? All right.
Can you dive in a little? Talk to us about the road about starting the foundation first, and back in 2016, you said. Can you tell us a little bit about? You kind of explained why you did it and stuff. Tell us a little bit about how. What were the?
Yeah, so I went to college to become a speech therapist. So I did that, and when I graduated, I got a job working in public school as a speech therapist, and I thought, I was going to cure the world, and everyone was going to be so wonderful, and it was going to be all great. And working in public school is really hard.
I believe it.
Because you really can't provide the service that you really want to for the kids. Yeah. So I kind of went on a journey to, I went and worked in home health and learned a little bit about business and how to run a business in that way, and then working in a home setting. So I got a little experience from that, but it was always on my heart to start a school. Always. Yeah. What I wanted to do was have a school. I didn't really know what I was going to do at this school and what kind of therapy or what kind of curriculum. I had no idea.
Yeah. There you go.
That is the journey.
Yes.
Really,
yes.
Is figuring it all out. And so finally, I kept talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And finally, my husband was like, you know what, just do it. Just start a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So I had a friend by chance, and he offered to pay for it, to pay for the IRS and to pay for a lawyer to put all the papers together.
Yeah, the filing, all that.
And so that was my first step. Uh-huh. So, I got that done, and after...
Get your paperwork in order.
Yeah, and I started doing some advocating and just getting my name out there. Yeah, hey, there's this chick, and she wants to start a school. Okay?
We don't know what school yet.
We don't really know anything about it, but we're going to start a school.
But she's passionate, so she's probably going to start a school, guys.
So I started meeting people and parents, and for me, it's the vision that I have. I think that people really, really like and they want to hear about. And so people did start to believe in me,
Because you know why? Because you were probably able to paint that vision.
I see a long-term vision.
Well, and also, this has been on your heart for a long time. You said from the jump, from a young age, you were like, this is something that I've been wanting to do. You were wondering, and you were like searching for wisdom on how to help that. So I mean,
Yeah.
whenever you took a leap of faith, it was always kind of like, okay, now it's actually happening. Step
Yeah.
2 here. Now you're meeting with people. Now you're getting a curriculum together. Now you're getting.
So I found a church reached out to me and said, "Hey, we heard you want to open a school," and they had just went through Harvey, and they had like literally 30 rooms.
Wow.
And they said, "Hey, but you can use them."
Yeah.
But bad news is you have to clean them all out and paint them because they hadn't been used since like the 70s. And so I remember I spent the summer just gutting that place.
Awesome.
And just
In
up
the
there.
trenches.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Every day up there, painting, throwing stuff
Yeah.
away, cleaning things out, getting volunteers to help, going on Facebook Live saying, "Hey, I'm making a school for kids with autism. Help us out."
Yeah.
And I never would take that for granted. Just knowing like I don't know what I'm doing yet.
You're putting in the work and you're learning though.
Yeah, but I'm going to start a school.
You know what? I was listening to something that it was Drake talking, and he spoke kind of about that. They were like, "How did you get to where you were? How'd you get there?" And he was like, "I don't know. I just kind of kept stumbling, falling forward until I got here."
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I didn't have the plan. I didn't have the path. I just kind of kept falling forward until.
Yeah, and she kind of touched on that too, man. It's the journey.
Right.
It's about the journey.
And it's about making mistakes. I've made so many mistakes.
Absolutely. That's a very common thread in
I've
a
made
lot
so
of
many mistakes.
a common thread in a lot of the people we talk to and a lot of the business owners, entrepreneurs, and just successful people in general is like they just fail forward. Like
Yeah.
make lots of mistakes, but don't let them be mistakes. Let them be lessons.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
You know
Always
what I
have to
mean?
learn.
Yeah, learn from it, and then it's not a
Grow.
mistake. It's just a lesson learned.
For me, I love to grow. I love to learn new
Same.
things. And
Same.
so when I made a mistake, okay, what can I do differently? How can I change this? And how can I keep going? And I remember when I started that school, I'd worked with kids with autism. It's what I specialized in college. I loved it,
Right.
Yeah.
But you have all these different kids and they have all these different differences and
So
needs.
situational.
It really is. And so you're like, what can I do? How can I help them? What is gonna be the best approach to be
Yeah.
able to help these kids for what I believe and what's in my heart?
Yeah.
What sort of major struggles happened as you were forming this in the school? What sort of issues were you having? Did you have any that you can remember
gosh,
of?
I've had so many issues.
Yeah.
I've had
Tell us
so
some of them.
many
Yeah.
issues.
What are some of the biggest obstacles you had to overcome?
I think for me, the biggest obstacle is following my heart and what's true to my heart.
Wow.
And not necessarily taking the advice of somebody because they have more experience than me and they
Right.
think that they know what Oasis should be. It's really about following the vision that I have
Yeah.
and taking that leap of faith, those steps to keep going towards what I see and what I see.
Now, at the same time, listening to them and
Sure.
hearing their thoughts and
Sure.
trying to understand what they're thinking,
Sure.
but at all times, you're on your path.
Yes.
And I'm going to go my journey.
I remember in the early days, so with autism, kids have a lot of behaviors. And I remember there's something called applied behavior analysis, and it's like a behavior therapy where you teach kids compliance. And I remember a lot of parents and people that worked for me there, we need to do ABA here. This is what we need to do. We need to do this behavior approach here. And it just wasn't on my heart.
Yeah.
I always felt like it just doesn't fit who I am. I'm more nurturing.
You just felt like there was something off about
Yeah.
it from how you approach.
Sure.
Sure.
I just felt like it wasn't nurturing. And I remember I lost a lot of people, a lot of parents and a lot of staff because they believed in that approach. I just didn't believe it. And it had to be true to what
There you go.
I thought was right for the kids that I was
And
working
I bet
with.
that's hard. You see people walking away because the same thing. But
Very hard.
It's
But
awesome.
I would do it all over again.
Yeah,
Just to relearn everything I
absolutely.
learned.
And also,
you know?
what about the people that stuck with you
Oh my
because you
gosh.
said no? Because you said, I don't like that style. I'm doing it my way. Just like with some of the way they're doing
Exactly.
Education in the regular public schools. There's a lot of uproar about what's been going on. And, they're still my kids. Teachers can't. So, I mean, it's good for you to
and I
stick to your guns
that
on that.
works for some people,
Yeah.
and I think that's great. And you do that if you think it works for you. But it didn't match my vision,
Right.
and that's what I have to stay true to is the vision that I
Yeah,
have.
right.
So I would say that would probably be one of the biggest hurdles that I had to feel comfortable in my own skin by saying, it's just not what I believe and what I see for this place,
Yeah.
and keep searching for what I saw.
But you
Yeah.
said no with confidence.
Yeah, it was hard. Ooh,
Yeah,
it
it
was
is.
real hard.
Yeah.
it is.
Very hard.
And you second guess yourself yourself a lot. I mean, I don't really know because I was perfect. I never made a mistake, but I could feel.
Yeah, exactly.
My nose is growing. Call me Pinocchio.
So what other kind of people, I mean, is it just you a part of this, or I mean, do you have other people that are in part of the makeup of the Oasis Foundation? Is it just you, or do you have other people helping?
I have other people.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a really close colleague that I work with, and he was started out to be a mentor of mine. He actually has a son with autism, and he taught me a lot of the things that I use now. Just introduced me to different approaches.
Yeah.
And so I went out and started seeking training and getting certified in all these different approaches. And so he has a separate business, and we work together outside of Oasis with people with their homes and things like that. But yeah, and I have staff that's great that helps me work with the kids. And again, it's all about the vision, the long-term vision.
Yeah. Let's touch on that even a little more. You brought it up. I think that's a very interesting kind of thought process there. So first, I guess, how you mentored, you mentioned you had a mentor. How important was mentorship, and why was it important?
In the early days, I didn't think I need that.
Of course, no one does.
I'm like, I know everything.
I was 15. I was 15 when I realized I knew everything.
And now, the only thing I do know is that I don't know much.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, now
I'm gonna jot that down, Derek.
It's so I think it's so important to have a mentor. I mean, now, I go out and seek mentorship from other therapists, asking them to help me, asking them to watch my videos, working with these kids. Can you give me some advice of what I can do next time to help them? Because it's not about me. It's about the kids.
Right.
It's about the
and
kids.
I want to be the best therapist that I can possibly be.
And it's good to have a third party point of view.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. It's so important. So I will do that for the rest of my life. I'll have people mentoring
and also,
me.
I mean, people that help others, and especially that educate children. I mean, it's very selfless, and it's rewarding in how you see them interact in the real world. There's a wise instructor who told me a teacher's work never knows how far it really goes.
Yeah.
Do you believe that's true?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that kind of rhymed too, bro. That's good.
Dr. Seuss, a poet, didn't even know. What was it?
Also, another thing, I think that it really caught my attention. I don't think, but the second you said it, I started to go through my filing cabinet in my brain, and you mentioned that once this mentor first kind of took you in and he started showing you things and helping you, yada yada, that it made you go out and seek more training, more education, more like that. That's awesome. And then as I thought about it, I was like, man, that's so true. Cause as I've worked with mentors and had mentors teach me things and stuff, it just made me more hungry.
I was about to say, it's the hunger.
Yeah, I want more mentors.
It's the hunger to be better at your craft for who you serve.
Right. Exactly.
It's kind of like gasoline on a fire. You know what I mean? It just accelerates it a little bit more.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not about me and the knowledge that I have. It's about the growth that I see in the students that I work with.
Yes.
And when I can be happy and celebrate a growth, and their parents can help celebrate a growth, I mean, that's why I do what I do.
I mean, it's not near as impactful, but we see the same thing. It's like, we're marketers, right? So we do marketing for people, but it's hard for us sometimes to take on new clients because it's like, what impact can we really make for them? I don't want your money. You know what I'm saying? I want to help you. Exactly. And so when we do successfully help a client, it's like, and they see their business grow, and we know they see large value in it. Yeah. And it's very fulfilling.
Oh yeah.
And then you see the results, how they are, and then they tell others they want other people to work with you too. Yeah. And it's like, that's rewarding about it. Yeah. That's rewarding.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story. I have a student that I've been working with since I opened the school, and she actually she was in a residential facility for a while because her behaviors were so extreme. She's very aggressive. And it was a struggle to learn how to work with her at first.
Absolutely.
And finally, we started these approaches with her and she was just one-on-one. I mean, just her and one teacher, and that was it. And we started acclimating her into the classroom. She's learned how to read. She's so successful. And the other day, a student, sometimes they get little tiffs at school, and funny little things. Well, she likes to draw, and a student ripped her drawing in half. He has a crush on her.
Oh, that
And
was
he
his
ripped-
way of
Hey,
flirting.
you got to break
ripped,
it down. Hey, look,
he ripped her
they're gonna break
drawing,
your heart.
and she, you could tell she lost it. I mean, she was so upset, and she was crying, and she wanted to leave the school. She wanted to walk out the front door, and so I'm trying to calm her because it's all about me. It's about her being calm and me sharing my calm with her.
Beautiful.
In that moment, and so I let her feel what she wanted to feel, and I'm telling her that I love her, and we're gonna get through it, and. Finally, she said, "I need to talk to him," and I was like, in my mind, I was like, "Is she gonna hit him?" Or
I got something to say to Johnny.
Let's see what happens. So she walked in there, and she said, she just in the best way she possibly could. She looked at him and she told him, "I'm angry because you ripped my paper, and that drawing was for someone in my family." And then
wow.
her being able to communicate that was huge.
Very much so.
Amazing.
And then she looked at him and she said, "But I don't like you."
So she speaks the truth at
Gosh,
least.
but how
She
much
speaks the
growth?
truth.
Because in the past she would have, hit him.
Yeah.
Or just ran away.
So I mean, that's a prime example of how your teaching is actually affecting this on a large scale. I mean, imagine how many times she's going to go back to her house and a situation occurs where she goes, "I need to take a minute, but I don't like what you did because of X, Y, Z."
And it's real life, right? We all get upset.
Right.
We all get hurt.
Right. I don't even know if I've handled situations.
You know?
I was going to say, sometimes I don't articulate myself the best way. I just stare people down until they leave. I mean,
He does.
a little aggressive as well. All right. So I feel for the girl. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How many students just on like students, children are you working with on like a just regular basis, you think? I'm wondering.
On a regular basis, in the school we have 10 kids.
Oh, yeah.
And then I work with private clients outside of school that come in. I would say probably out of all the families I work with, probably about 20 families.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to reach more.
But I think you kind of spoke on that a little bit earlier about how you had said earlier it's a little smaller, but I think there's benefits of that too. It's more intimate. You can spend more time with the children. So there's pros and cons to everything,
Sure.
right?
And what I'm interested in and what I have started to do is training other professionals on how to use the approaches, because that's how I can reach more families.
Right.
Not
Duplicate
necessarily
yourself.
through my hands, right, and through myself, but by training other professionals how they can use the approaches. So that's what I've started to do recently, and that to me is going to be huge, to be able to go out and share with other people.
Do they give you good feedback from that? Are they like, "Hey, this worked and that worked"? And
Oh yeah, and I'm able to do it internationally, which is really cool.
Beautiful.
To be able to help. I just did a training last weekend in Nigeria.
wow.
Via Zoom.
It's 2022.
Yeah,
Jeez,
in
Louise.
Nigeria, and which is cool about that, because in other countries they don't have the training, they don't have the experience
Absolutely.
that we have here.
Yeah.
Did y'all? Now I know at schools sometimes field trips happen. Did y'all ever go over anywhere? Like, do y'all go on field trips at all?
Yeah, we go on field trips. We just the other day we went to the animal shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we take kids locally to teach them how they can use their strategies in the community.
Didn't you also tell me that y'all took a trip out to? Didn't y'all go out to Africa as well?
We did. Yeah.
Okay. So how was
did.
that?
Yeah, we didn't take any students with us.
Oh, okay.
This was
okay.
more about a mission trip, like going out and training parents, teachers, therapists how to use approaches. But it was life-changing. It was a phenomenal. We were able to help a school that had, I think they had 200 kids that had special needs. But
Oh, beautiful.
the funny thing about it is that only one kid in the whole school had actually had a diagnosis. They just knew they were special.
They just placed them in there?
And they just put them in the school.
Okay.
They don't necessarily have a diagnosis over there. And so when I got there, my experience, I mean, I can work with all kinds of kids that have differences, right? But we were specifically going over there to start an autism program, and they just start bringing me all these kids. Like, this kid has autism. And I'm like, that kid
Just
has...
touch them, teach them, tell
Yeah,
them, do your
this
thing.
kid, they're like, I was like, I'm pretty sure this child has Down syndrome. Like, they're like, this kid has autism, and there's all these things, and
this kid's fine, just personality
right,
disorder.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
this kid's deaf. I mean, like, legit, they brought a kid that was deaf, and I'm like, he's deaf. So I'm like, we need to teach him how to do sign. But anyways, they just don't have the resources, and they're just seeking any knowledge and any kind of help. But we were able to just start start some programs and use specific little strategies and approaches to be able to work with them in small settings over there. And, that was 2 years ago. We went in 2019, and I'm not even kidding you. About 2 months ago, one of the teachers from that school wrote me an email out of nowhere, because I had partnered with an organization over there called HopeWorks Ghana, and they connected us with this school.
Yeah.
And so I still stay in connection with that organization because we provide training to them. And the teacher emailed me just letting me know, like, hey, what you've done really impacted us, and we're really making a lot of progress with
How
the kids.
rewarding is that?
Oh my gosh, I was bawling,
Yeah.
just like how nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was great. But it was a really great experience. I mean, Ghana is such a beautiful country. The people there are so beautiful and so kind.
Yeah.
And it was, their culture is way different.
Absolutely.
It's a
Absolutely.
way different culture, but just being able to help them. The kids there are the same as they are here.
I'm sure you learned a lot too.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different culture, new environment, having a whole new set of challenges to overcome as well.
I remember when we pulled up to the school, we had a van. The HopeWorks Ghana people were so kind, and they got us a van, and we pull up to this school, and all the kids start running towards the van.
Wow.
And I get out of the van, and I see this little boy that they had strapped him in. Pretty much, it was like a wooden wheelchair with no wheels.
Yeah. Wow.
Not because he couldn't walk, it's because they couldn't manage him. And they had put him in there. And I remember I just started to cry. Like, I was like literally bent down to talk to him. And I just started crying. Like this
is
poor
how they're
child.
handling this.
And it's not because they don't have good hearts.
Right. They needed someone like you
There's
over
so
there.
many of the kids.
Right.
Not enough
couldn't
people.
manage it.
They couldn't manage them.
I want to take this kind of full circle. I was actually having a conversation with the other person the other day. Is you kind of mentioned you don't like the communication skills is what you're working on with them, and you don't even necessarily really need to talk to communicate with someone, right? And so I was literally having this conversation with someone the other day, and I was telling them how, like, I think, a big part of ignorance in human society is like not having traveled. So I think I can see how beneficial taking those trips and stuff were good for you, because as you engulf yourself in other cultures and other experiences, it just opens your eyes. You see people are all the same. We all have struggles. We all have issues. And so they were telling me they don't like to travel because they don't want to go somewhere where they don't speak the same language. That's the first thing I told them. I was like, you don't have to speak to communicate to people. You know what I mean?
I just to add on top of that, I feel like traveling and understanding where other people have grown up and their just their lifestyle compared to ours, I feel like honestly that can help end even racism. Because if you understand where other people come from and how they grew up, you're like, okay, I understand where you come from and your way of growing up. And
It's people being very sheltered and living in a bubble and not having the chance. And it's not even, when I say ignorance, I don't even mean it like with a negative connotation. I just meant like it's like lack of knowledge about this stuff. Like we even said, like in the beginning, like people are afraid of things they don't understand. You know what I mean? So it goes back to that, to racism and just people closed-minded. People are afraid of things they don't understand.
It's so true. I remember being in Africa. The people there, they wanted to talk to you. They wanted to know what you were there about and why were you there, and tell me a little bit about where you live. Like, they wanted to know all those things.
For sure.
If somebody comes here from a different country, you don't really see people like, hey, I know you're not from this country. Let me talk to you. Why are you here?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just the kindness. And I remember we went to a church service to talk to a church about autism. And the pastor stood up and he said, well, I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but there's some white people in the room. They're all like, thank you for coming. And, they're so kind and just so joyous.
And that's okay. That's how they know and live. They're like, hey, we have white people here.
Yeah.
Give it up for the white people.
But I wasn't hurt by that.
No, exactly.
I was like, they want to know why I'm here.
Right.
I tell people this story. My mom and father lived in Abu Dhabi for a while, and I would go over there and visit. It's the United Arab Emirates. It's Arabic, Middle East. And people, when I went back, the first time I went back in like 2015, 2012, 2013, when I came back, everyone was like, "Oh, was that dangerous? Oh my gosh, were you safe there?" And like, "Wow, how was it? Was it like very strict?" I was like, "Man, I'll put it to you like this." He was like, "How do they treat you?" I'll put it to you like this. Everybody kind of looks at you weird for a split second, and what you do is you smile at them, and then it's, they come, they want to talk to you, they want to get to know you, they want to understand you, and it's like, it's crazy. You can disarm people with, like a smile, you know what I mean? And that, I didn't say a word, you know what I mean? I just, you're
it's a nonverbal communication that speaks so loud.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's how it is with kids who are different. You know, they might not be able to communicate in words what they're feeling, but if you just take the time to, you know, be close to them and come into their world and let them feel safe, you can experience so much joy and connection.
Now, I wanna ask, whenever you were over there, I think this might be time for a good celebrity appearance. Okay. Did you have any sort of chief of security?
I did.
Or anything like that? Was there anyone helping around that maybe the HTown happy hour might have know or anything like that?
I did. I had.
How about that? Pat
My,
Lane, the man, the myth, the legend. How you doing?
Chief of Security.
Chief of Security.
Over here.
Yes. That
Hey,
my
Pat
dad.
Lane, come on, man, Pat Lane. Let's go.
I don't know if y'all remember, but before the stories are lost, we interviewed Pat before. Man, that video has like almost 20,000 views on YouTube.
Damn, I think it was a home run if I ever seen one.
So
Grand slam, Pat.
How are you related to Pat?
So Pat's my dad.
Oh,
He's
okay.
my dad, and he went with us to Africa.
Has he been a pretty big support?
Oh yeah, he's such a big support. Well, I mean, he understands his sister's daughter has autism, so he got to experience that. And he understands. But I remember when I told him I was going to Africa, he was like, "Is your husband going with you?" I'm like, "No, he's not going." And he's like, what? He's like, "Well, I gotta come make you feel safe, make you girls safe, y'all," because I went with women, you know, and they're like, "Oh, y'all have to be safe." And the first day we got there, and they were so kind, he was like, you know, he's over there doing his own thing, and we're out here doing our thing. He's like,
telling
whatever.
stories to all the elders in the,
Right?
in the area.
I
The
think
butt was this big.
He even mentioned at one point, he was like, he went over there, you know, head of security thinking, and then within the first day, he realized how nice the people were.
So
And just,
kind.
he was like, "Oh, we're good."
So kind. Yeah.
That's incredible.
But that's my daddy, and he always supports me. And, you know, he has a room, he has an office inside our school.
Oh, awesome.
And I have this one student that he really doesn't communicate very much, but he loves my dad.
Cool.
That's
And
awesome.
if we're like in the room where a window is, and he sees him pulls up, he starts saying, "Dada, Dada, Dada."
Oh,
And you know, he'll want to see him and talk to him and stuff, you know, and it's really all he can say is "Dada."
Do you mind sharing your dad like that?
Oh
You know,
yeah,
like, is
I
that
love
cool?
it.
All
It's
right.
not that, you know. I mean, like it's. I love to see my dad as that type of man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Growing up, he was kind of hard,
Yeah.
and you know,
Really? I thought he was a big
you know what I
softy,
mean.
man.
And
He
he's
was a
really
college
softened
giant.
up a lot in his age. So yeah.
I think also in his book, there's a part about it wherever you can help donate to your school.
Yeah,
right?
and it talks a little bit about the story about my cousin and you know, why I do what I do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But my dad and I have a vision where we want to go with Oasis and what we want to do, and that's why my dad is so big on promoting Oasis and telling people that what you know, he writes the book to raise money to help us, because what we want to do one day, it's really my long-term vision, and what we see is we want to be able to have a community where adults can live and work that have differences, but just live out a purposeful life when they outgrow their caregivers. And what we always think about my cousin, like what will happen to her. And so that is what we want to do. We want to open up a true Oasis where they can live and have businesses, you know, on site that hire them, and they can work, and like I said, just live out a purposeful life.
You know, there's a professional athlete. I forget who it is, but he just opened an ice cream shop, and he has like 20 employees. The only employees he has,
I heard about
all
this.
have
In
autism.
Houston, right?
I think it is.
Yeah.
All his employees.
That's
I mean,
badass.
He
Is
only
it?
hires
That's
people
awesome.
that have autism.
I need
Ice
to
cream
try
shop.
Awesome.
Genius. Like, I mean, not even genius, but like incredible. Like just wow. Like, because that presents its own set of challenges. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that, to me, he was willing to accept that, to give back and help, and kind of like what you see with Oasis. Wait, how are some of these people with differences? How are they gonna when they outlive their caregiver? How are they gonna continue to maintain? And he's got older and younger people, and so not only are the younger people learning valuable life skills of how to work and job, but they're also in an environment where it's okay.
Sure. And the CDC just changed their statistic, and it's 1 in every 44 children have autism. So if you think about long term, like, what's that going to do to our society?
Right.
What's that going to do to Social Security?
And the thing about it is it's not going to go away for them. The only thing that
the numbers are
going to
continue.
It's going to continue to grow. The only thing that you can do and what you are doing is helping them be able to manage it through their life and give them ways to. This is one way to. Because obviously it's not. They can still learn and understand.
Oh, they can still be very successful.
And they're probably almost more alert and aware at certain things. Like they feel.
Speaking of that, there's a question I've been wanting to ask you is, we talked a little bit about, the difficulties and not even, I hate to use this word, but it's only so I can ask the question. Like we talked a little bit about the maybe differences and stuff, or what are some of the strengths in these people you've worked with? What are some of the amazing things you've seen in these kids? Tell us the good side.
Yeah, there really is so many good things. I think the love, honestly, is the best thing that I've seen. You just the connection and just the love that they can share with each other and with you. That really is what fills my heart so much. But they do have strengths.
Yeah.
I have this one student, and he literally he knows every song. Like, you start making any beat, and he's like, well, he'll just sing the song,
Wow.
And if you make up a song, because that's how I do it. In my therapy, I'm always like, I make up a song, and I start singing whatever, and he'll just start singing all the words, and then the next day, he's like, starts singing that song again that I made up,
Beautiful.
So his mind, he
It
is,
captures it.
the auditory is a strength for him,
Wow.
and he can do that. So they have strengths, and you see like some movies where they have like they're super good at math and things like that. And I think they're all different. All kids are all different.
I was gonna say maybe it's more hyper focused on one set of strength instead of having a diverse, like, oh, I can communicate well, I can problem solve well. It's maybe like, no, this person is really good at insert whatever they.
I have an artist that's like super great at drawing, and it's
aren't they
always the same.
hyper focused on it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When it's time to put it away, we really have to preview. We have to know the break is over, and we have to move on. And it's just
That's
something
probably a struggle.
Yeah.
We're done playing. We're done enjoying.
We're done with our drawing,
But that's with any kids.
It really is.
Any kids
It really is.
experience that.
You're absolutely
Nap
right.
time's over. No, I'm still in that.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. I think it comes with relationship. And
Yeah.
if they feel safe and confident and they know that, okay, I'm going to be able to have my break time again, then it's easier to transition them. If it's more just about compliance and we have to do what I say right now, it's a little bit harder.
I've never liked, hey, you have to do this, and it's like, why? Because I say so.
Yeah.
Well, I think you just got a problem with authority, though.
Well, there's nothing wrong with civil disobedience, okay? I feel like there's nothing wrong, and it's actually necessary. 'Cause
Protesting is in our command or amendments or something, constitution or something like that.
Well, it's better than obedience to authority. That sounds a lot worse than disobedience. And the rule makers are cool and everything, but a little rule, mess
Rules
it back.
are meant to be broken.
Come on, now you got to know the rules to break the rules. So you were talking about what the ultimate goal is to have a functional
Community.
society and community where everyone can work together. But what sort of plans do you have in the immediate future, like say maybe a year from now, 2 years? What sort of things are you building up to for right now?
Right now, we're working a lot on just being able to take what we use at Oasis out. That's really one of our
spread it.
main, our main focus right now
amazing.
is we're in the process of developing some curriculums.
Yeah.
We've been working on some for a while,
Yeah.
but it just takes time to get the evidence and to get the research and all that. So we've been really working a lot on that. But that really is a real short-term goal that we have, to be able to take what we use. A lot of the stuff that we use at Oasis is in-house things that we have taken from other curriculums
Absolutely.
and created into our own.
Right.
So I love the creativity around that.
Yeah, it's not plagiarism. It's just taking the good stuff you can find,
Yes,
and leaving out the bad.
We have to figure out what works for our kids because some of our kids are severely impacted.
Yeah,
and a traditional curriculum isn't going to work for them.
Absolutely.
And so we, trial and error. Let's try this week, and okay, let's try this next week, and write down this worked, and so we're working on that, and that's really what we want to get out in the next year to 2 years is put out what we have developed to be able to help more kids and more parents, because what we develop can go into homeschool parents can use.
So you were saying that you did something over in Ghana, and then also did you say Nigeria also? So I mean, is that the main focus where you're trying to spread it right now is over in like the Africa area?
Really anywhere, honestly. It's just where I have connections right now. I'm really trying to, I will go anywhere. I have a family that I work with in South Texas that I help in the home, and we provide the curriculum that we're using. We do that with him there. But
isn't that so powerful where we've came in society today that you have the ability to be international from one area? Oh, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. But I would love to be able to go to other countries and other states and share the knowledge that I have with other people.
Create an oasis everywhere.
Exactly.
I mean, just to talk about that, it's crazy where we come. I mean, I remember watching Pokemon as a youngster and them doing they had this video chat, and it was like, oh, that's futuristic. And it's like now it's easy. Now we can. It's like, oh, we have to get on a Zoom call now. Oh, good.
Right.
It's like, no, we're in the future, And it's like you can reach anyone with that.
Joe laughed. Joe loves Zoom calls. Joe, shout out to our IT
shout out
guy,
to Joe, Big J. Come on, man. Let's go, Jay.
Joe. Sorry, we have to shout him out every
That's
episode.
okay.
Yeah, we do.
Just because we love him.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any sort of like golden nuggets? Like, say, for instance, that there was somebody else who was wanting to help out the youth, children, or anything like that, or maybe a family member. What sort of golden nuggets could you maybe pass along to anyone like?
I would say to always be patient.
Yeah.
And be okay with making mistakes and trying different approaches, never giving up.
Right.
Because working with these kids is challenging. Sometimes, I get hit, I get bit, I've been put in headlocks before.
Wow.
I can get hurt, and I have to maintain my own calm.
And your composure.
And yes, because I have to share calmness in that moment.
Do they start to feel it ever? Do they realize like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this to you? Like, and you said whenever you get bit or thing like
maybe not in the moment.
Yeah,
in the moment, it's a
maybe
high
later.
stress. They're very stressed for some reason, and they're taking it out on me because they're stressed. But afterwards, I'm so sorry, Miss Ashley. I love you.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Well, reflection is very important as well. And and I still to this day make mistakes in the moment and do things I regret. And I think there's actually, I learned a lot from him in a sense, like about how important reflection is, and to think about everything you go through and think about your reactions, whether it's positive or negative. You reflect on things. That way it's reiterating it in your brain.
Yes.
If I have a very successful situation nowadays or a very, very warm interaction, of course I want to reflect on that. Why was that reflection so warm? Why was that situation so warm? Why was that interaction so successful? And so it's not just even in our negative moments, but it's also in our positive.
Yeah, and the kids feel that too. And so I know for me, it's about the relationship, because let's say a child does hit me, and that's the last thing they do before they leave that day is hit me. They know that when they show up the next day, the first thing I'm going to do is hug them and tell them I love them and I'm happy they're here.
That's powerful.
You know what?
And they remember that.
Honestly, this is something that I've kind of learned also. Sometimes, whoa, the chair just dropped on me. My calves, they're gigantic, so it kind of hit the thing. But sometimes, kids can take out their biggest aggressions on the one that loves them the most.
Right.
Because honestly, what I've come to find out is it's almost a test in their time of struggle of, are you going to stick with me whenever it's the worst? Yeah. Are you? Because I'm pissed.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to stay there, remain calm in that love, that love is what they need to feel back, because they got that too.
Just to piggyback on that too, it's like, as you say that, like that applies to people in general. We tend to take our anger out not on the people we're most comfortable with. because we're comfortable with them. You know, like had a bad day at work, go home to the wife and take it out on her.
And then kick your dog who just wants to love
Chill,
you.
bro. I don't mean like in a physical way.
No.
But I mean,
Yeah,
it's just,
for sure.
as you said that, it was just like very interesting to me because we tend, just as human beings, we tend to, you know, take our stress out or take our emotion out on
people that we
love
and that
people that are comfortable with
and that we feel won't ever turn their back.
right. Yes.
And that's when you have to use a relationship to regulate
Yeah.
the other person, because you can do that with husband and wife. You
Yeah.
can do it with kids that have differences. You know, just sharing the calmness and telling them that we're going to work through it together and we're going to feel better. You know, that is all about, that's regulation and helping them regulate themselves. And they need that to be able to do academics and to be able to do social experiences.
I applaud you because that calmness is not easy to maintain in just life in general. It's very, like, I have a buddy who he's like, I've never almost seen him like react to things like in a negative way. Like he'll laugh and he shows emotion and stuff, but he's just always just kind of cool, calm, and collective. And like the second I kind of saw that in his character, I was like gravitated towards it. I was like, fuck, how can I have that level of calmness? Like I'm peaceful and I'm happy, but his ability to just remain calm is like it's so impressive. So I applaud you.
I have to practice. I'm not where I want to be.
For sure.
I've gone through a lot of training, you know, to get where I am right now. And I definitely want to get better. And it's hard.
It is.
Because when somebody else is stressed, I feel that stress
Right,
too.
it's energy.
Well, see, and so that right there, it's the same thing. It applies in both ways. You being able to maintain your calm. The fact that you said share your calm. It's like I've talked on that before. Like whenever you're handling problems for other people.
Yes.
You know, even like if you're just doing business with someone and they start freaking out, hey, look, it's not the end of the world right now. It's still going through. No, but you said it was this.
I'm sure you experience that a lot in the like real estate.
Oh,
working
bro,
with clients and
100%. It's I just tell them, please fasten your seatbelt because this is an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Trust me, there's gonna be ups and downs, but at the end, you're gonna be happy.
And that's what maintaining that calmness does. It's less of this and more of this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that calm is right in the middle
Right.
of the.
Well, but like I said, that's why we want to kind of do this with the ups and downs and not
Excellent
this.
problem-solving manager right here. Problem-solving manager right here.
I tell you too, like
Damage control is this man.
my boy that I was talking about too, like it's to the extent, like it's impressive to me because it's to the extent his girlfriend one time told me, she was like, one of my biggest pet peeves about Teo is he won't ever fight with me. He won't fight with me. We never get in a fight. And sometimes I just want to, and he just, and I was like, damn, that's good. If your biggest problem with him is that he won't, he's good.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, hey, how do people get a hold of you if they wanted to reach out to you, or if they wanted to use your
Help
curriculum
or learn
be a
from
part
it or
of this?
donate anything? Yeah.
Yeah,
How do they reach out
have a
to you?
website, children'soasisfoundation.org, and that
Children's Oasis Foundation.org. Cool.
It gives a little bit more information about the approaches that we use and the type of therapy that we use. But we're also on social media, and you can see our school at Oasis Academy for Autism on Instagram and Facebook. But if you go to Children's Oasis Foundation on Instagram and Facebook, that you can get a lot of tips. We post
Cool.
tips on there.
Yeah.
And just advice and things that other professionals and parents can use.
And I mean, it's not just for anyone that has special needs. I mean, like these kind of tips are probably
You
just
can
for
use
the
it with your
average-
toddler.
Yeah. Or even just the average person. Like, hey, look, if you're feeling upset, take a breath.
Yeah, exactly. Shoot, that's what a lot of the stuff we've talked about. I've been sitting here thinking, like, this is actual, just real life. These kids are just normal people.
Exactly.
They really are.
They really are. Everyone has differences. We
For
all
sure.
have differences.
For sure.
So, you can use it. You can use the strategies with anybody. I use it with my own husband and my kids.
That's what I'm saying. See, it all comes full circle. You're right. You're like, look, I know you're mad, but the spaghetti's fine. No, it's not. No, it's not. Look, it's fine. It's edible. Trust me. The meatballs aren't cooked.
That's hilarious.
Hey, Ashley, we love that you came on the show.
Thank you.
I love
Thank you for
this.
having
This is
me.
such a good
yeah,
episode.
Thank
This
you.
is wonderful. This is awesome.
You thank us. Thank you for what you do. Like this, wow, you're making an impact, and you're not only helping these kids, but you're helping families and people, and a lot of people have a lot of self-serving goals. And don't get it wrong, I know there's a little self-serving in yours too, helping people.
Yeah.
That is that feeling in the heart, that's fulfilling. But I applaud you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And also, like I said, I have one story, before we're lost.
No, cut.
No, but I was gonna say, like I said, the teacher's work never knows how far it really goes. I remember I was sitting in 4th grade reading class, okay, and I had Miss Prezapora teaching us about the predicate and the subject and all this different stuff about the sentence, and I'm like, and I hated it. I'm back in college right now taking philosophy, and they're talking about logic, and they're talking about the predicate and the subjects behind things, and I was like, Miss Prezapora was teaching us logic and philosophy.
Should have paid attention.
That was 4th grade me. Now I'm 30. That's 20 years later, and I'm like, oh my God. She was doing good work, so I can say hopefully your work goes the same way with your students.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you.
HTown Happy Hour, we're out.
Stay tuned for next week's episode.